Do you want to hear the complete, unabridged history of Canada's most influential dish? I don't care. Let's cook. Put a pair of bouillon cubes into a medium pot. Squeeze them for good luck and try to roll doubles. Darn, I rolled another zero. Pour in 2 cups of water, set the pot to boil, and give the cubes an occasional stir until they disappear. Phew, we're boiling now. Give this one more cursory stir to make sure all the granules of flavor have been absorbed. On the side, you'll want to have a mixture of equal parts water and flour. Pretend to mix this with a whisk, because your whisk is too big for the bowl, and I literally did this to show you how it should look, but I didn't actually mix it. Next, you need to make the gravy base. In order to do this, put some butter in a pan and make it melt with your best pickup lines or medium-high heat. Your choice, depending on effectiveness. Once the butter starts to melt, give it a good whisk. Remember those pickup lines? Turns out they worked a lot better on my wife than they did on the butter. She can't get her eyes, or the camera, off of my gorgeous face. Once she's done staring at you, you'll add the flour to your melted butter. Don't worry if this looks a little clumpy at first, as it will start to render down, as shown. I really should have used a silicone whisk for this. If you want to hear my wife's criticisms for me using a metal whisk on a non-stick pan, maybe check out my Patreon page. It's got hilarious outtakes that you may have missed, like my wife being right about everything. Anyway, keep whisking. The secret to a good base is knowing when it's just the right color. And there it is. Don't blink, you'll miss it. Pour the contents into the broth that you made before. You should probably pour the broth into the base, but that pan is way too small for this amount of gravy, and I hate making a mess when I make my sauces. Combine the ingredients with your whisk and bring them to a boil again. Slowly add in your thickening agent, if needed, and continue to reduce it until you've got your desired consistency. Now is the perfect time to add to your gravy a few seasonings and, if necessary, a little salt and pepper. And don't skimp on the garlic. The next step, potatoes. You're going to soak those in a bowl with cold water and salt for about an hour before you fry them. You were doing that, right? Should I have started with that? Oops. Pat your tasty spuds dry, my bad, with a paper towel. Then pat your gravy with a whisk so it doesn't feel left out. If you do have an air fryer, pour your potatoes in there in an awkwardly slow fashion so you can capture all the action on camera. Then admire your handiwork at 375 degrees for about 10 minutes. Thumbs up for a side dish that easily could have been its own episode, and probably will be later. Get some oven mitts and shake your fry basket out to loosen up any crumbs, while your wife zooms in on a tool that she thinks would have been better for the job that you're doing right now. Ignore her advice. Between rounds of frying, add the fries back to the seasoning bowl and pour on some fresh seasonings and use whatever you want for this. Having been to Canada multiple times, I can honestly tell you that East and West Canada are still in a civil war over what counts as poutine, with a long-standing dispute over which gravy and seasonings to use. Therefore, if anyone tries to tell you that your poutine doesn't count, they're a hater, and you don't need to worry about their opinion. More important than the Canadian poutine civil war, you see that bowl control? Damn, I'm talented. Now, put those potatoes back in the air fryer at 400 degrees for another 8 or so minutes. Skip the scene of me pulling the bacon-wrapped tenderloins out of the oven and cut right to the golden brown goodness of some twice-baked french fries. Or, in honor of Canada Day, let's call them Canada Crisps. Assemble your plate with a pair of tenderloins, some perfectly browned fries, and a handful of strategically placed cheese curds. Admire how good this looks even without the gravy for about 10 seconds, or until the potatoes start to complain about their overwhelming stage fright. Hide them behind a curtain of delicious, perfect gravy, and make sure you get all 3 elements of the dish in a single bite for the proper poutine experience, which I did not film because I haven't learned from the last episode's mistakes. That's it for this one. Poutine is really that easy. Remember, the poutine can just as easily be served as a main dish or a side dish. Try serving this at your next Canada Day party, which was yesterday. But every day can be Canada Day if you just stop caring and get to cooking.